to speak. This is a very, very big Monday. We got a lot going on. I'm Joy Taylor, joined by two legends, Super Bowl champion Keyshawn Johnson, NBA Finals MVP Paul Pierce. And we saw it last night. The NBA crowned a champion, and Kevin Durant has himself a new team. So after another huge weekend in sports, who is walking around like the man on Monday?
And I feel like this is going to happen every single Monday, but I'm taking Ohtani, the LA Dodgers. Not only the DH, but also the pitcher. Think about it. 1 inning, struck out 2. Check this out. He threw 18 balls. 12 of them were strikes. Then he flipped the bat around, 5 ribbies, okay? He got 5 runs. It's like it's crazy what he's doing out there on the baseball diamond.
Man, it is crazy. He's like a man amongst boys out there.
He's different. Paul, who you got for the man on Monday?
My man on Monday is the obvious. Congratulations to the OKC Thunder. The man on Monday, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. First player to win a scoring title, MVP, Finals MVP, Western Conference MVP, and multiple Game 7s in a single season. Highest scoring average in a championship season in NBA history. I have to look at that and say, really? Jordan never done that? Because Jordan won scoring titles and a championship. But when you post up 32.7 a game, leading scorer in the league, and win it all, that's different right there. Shout out to SGA, that's different.
He was. They're both different, and I'm going to give it to Chet this week. Chet played a massive role. I had some questions about how it was going to look overall, but he set a record on Sunday night by blocking 5 shots, the most ever in the NBA Finals. Game 7 since blocks began being recorded. He averaged 12 points per game, played a huge role in them winning that game last night, which was very, very competitive. And let's talk about that Game 7. No better 2 words in sports, Game 7. And a lot happened last night in Oklahoma City. The Pacers took an early lead before losing Tyrese Halliburton in the first quarter. Indiana was able to hold on to a small lead at halftime before the Thunder pulled away in the second half for a 103-91 victory. The Thunder talked about how it felt to bring OKC its first title.
It doesn't feel real. So many hours, so many moments, so many emotions, so many nights of disbelief, so many nights of belief. It's crazy to know that we're all here, but this group worked for it. This group put in the hours, and we deserve this.
They bring a joy to work every day that is unique. You know, it's a long season, and it's even longer when you're playing deep into the playoffs and you get to the finals and winning it. So just the joy and the camaraderie that we have is second to none. Like, these guys make it easy to show up and go to work every day.
They behave like champions. They compete like champions. They root for each other's success, which is rare in professional sports. They are... I've said it many times, I'm going to say it one more time. This is an uncommon team, and now they're champions.
We are joined by Fox Sports senior NBA analyst Rick Bucher. Welcome, Slick.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Very, very big nights. But Paul, we'll start with you. Former Finals MVP. How impressive was the Thunder's title run?
It was very impressive because when you get the pressure in the preseason from start to finish, and you fulfill those expectations, because, you know, the Celtics were probably the preseason favorite, I believe, and then as the season went on, everybody was like, OKC, and now the pressure's on them, the youngest team in the league. They had to follow up what they did last year, having a number 1 seed, coming back with a number 1 seed, going to a Game 7 against Denver. That was impressive, the way they handled that series. Minnesota, who everybody was calling Ant-Man, the next face of the league, took care of them. And then you get to the finals against a gritty, well-coached Indiana Pacers team who pushed them to 7, who everybody said, hey, this could go either way. Even I was saying that. Anything can happen in the Game 7. And for them to have the fortitude, for them to have the maturity. I mean, this got to be the most mature young team I've ever seen, truthfully. Like, even we were just saying this, I'm looking at Shai celebrate. It was like, he
wasn't really celebrating.
It wasn't really celebrating. It was like, it just doesn't feel real. And, it's just all the hard work.
They were very composed in their celebration.
Like, you're supposed to be out there like, we got it. Like, we did it, man. We made it, man. lost him all the celebrations over the years, and he's just like, it just doesn't feel real. Like a 26-year-old, for me to see that, I'm like, whoa. That's telling me he's not satisfied.
No.
He's going to enjoy this feeling this summer. He's going to put the work in to try to do this again. And that's what I kind of got out of this. But the run was very impressive. Hats off to the Thunder. And just looking forward, youngest team in the league, cap room, which they're going to have to fill that up pretty soon with the extensions coming up. Coaches, I have my doubt about Coach. Pulled through with his adjustments. So hats off to the Thunder. This could be a making of a dynasty. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's definitely got the infrastructure for it, and I've said it before.
Yeah, the success has come pretty fast. What is it, six years for him now?
Yep.
So that's fast.
6 years in.
6 years in.
6 years in OKC.
So you're not really going to see the tears and all that yet. If he'd have pushed it to 10, then you're going to see because he was fighting. This is just easy. Like, you think about it, it's easy, impressed. But you got to be impressed with a team, like Paul said, from wire to wire. They're the first team, 69-plus wins to finish the deal. The Bulls did it back in 96, 97.
68.
68. So when you think about the plus side of it, including the playoffs. They have the largest point differential in NBA history at 12.9. Highest turnover differential in the postseason. They created a lot of turnovers, especially against Indy. Indy was just, hey, we're going to help you reach that milestone. Second youngest NBA championship team.
Yeah.
It's the last 70 years. Fourth team to record 84 wins in the regular season and the postseason. I mean, you got to think, man, because most of the time it feels like teams that have them 68 or 60s or whatever, and they're the number one team, they don't finish the deal. They somehow stumble up along the way, but it didn't happen to OKC, and he didn't shrink. All he continued to do was grow. And then the rest of his teammates grew. If you look at Chet, you mentioned it in our Man on Monday, Joy, he stepped up, especially on the defensive end and protecting the rim, something that we need as a Laker. We need a rim protector. I just want to throw that out there to you.
Had to get the Lakers in the
I just want to throw that out to you, Rick. We got to get us one of them dudes that can help us a little bit.
I'll get right on that.
But no, it was impressive. It was. I didn't think it was going to be fun to watch, and I have to admit, it turned out pretty damn fun to watch, right? I mean, it really did, because I was like, yeah, okay.
We're all about accountability on this show.
Yeah.
Were you not entertained? You were?
No, I was.
I know.
But I actually appointment watch. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was one of those deals where it was appointment watch. It was like, okay, 5 o'clock, I got to go. I got to get there. I can't mess around with y'all right now. I can't. I got to go home. And I didn't think I was going to be that way. I was just like, yeah.
Can you give me a little corporate key doing Shea?
No, Paul, no, I ain't doing that. No.
It just doesn't feel real. Won the championship, it just doesn't feel real.
They're very composed.
No, he's young.
That's when you should be the most excited. This is what you play
Paul,
for.
okay, so check this out, though. That's true. But when you've been in the league, as long as you have played, as long as I played, and we finally got that chip, we was like, man, it's almost over with in our careers.
Yeah.
He got a whole nother 10 years to go.
I'm not asking for tears like we got from LeBron James in Miami.
Not necessarily tears, but more enthusiastic,
I would have
so to speak.
expected that.
It's hard when you're this young.
You know what I think it is? And this is what I found so impressive, is that they went from.
Will you continue to talk? Please, Rick, just go. It's Monday.
What I found so impressive is that they had never been anywhere close to this before. I think that's maybe why it seemed sort of like a surprise, as opposed to, I've been trying to get this for so long, thank God I finally got it, is because, and again, this is what impressed me the most, like they'd never been out of the second round. And they'd been to the second round once.
But they was.
And then knocking for how long? They knocked once, nobody answered. They knocked again.
But then
we're here.
Think about what Sam Presti did. He said, okay, I need to go make some moves. I make some changes. And one of the first things he did, he went and got Alex Caruso. He said, I need a veteran kind of, guy that can help us on both ends.
Yeah, but a role player.
Yeah, but you could be a role player and still help inside the locker room and on the floor.
For sure. Isaiah Hartenstein was a nice addition too, right?
Killer move.
Key additions. But these were supplementary pieces to a core that had never come close to this. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning MVP in his 6th year as a Thunder and 8th year in the league, and then going all the way through 2 Game 7s against the Denver Nuggets, a prior champion, and having their back against the wall a couple times where they were behind in a series, and they were corporate through the whole thing. Shea wasn't just like this at the end. He was like this through the whole thing. Yeah, we're down 2-1. You know, we just need to come back and get back to our game, and we'll be fine. You know, I mean, he was an accountant. He was just.
You know, it's so crazy. He showed more emotions in the loss. That one loss to Denver when he was walking through the tunnel smiling. Remember that? He showed more emotion during the loss because like he knew something.
Yeah.
That was
well,
crazy.
clearly he did.
Let me ask you this, though.
Yeah.
Because you've covered the league for the last 40 years or whatever. and I consider Shea an international player, you know. Do they have emotions when they win big, though, the international players? Because I don't remember.
Sure.
Like,
you don't remember Jokic?
No, I don't remember.
Jokic. I think Jokic might have had more, expressed more when he got back home than he did over here. But
no, Jokic gave us no emotion. He even left the trophy. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he left. He wanted to hurry up and get back, right? He wanted to get back.
Oh, but behind the scenes, you remember him getting tossed into the cold pool or the cold tub?
They dove into I remember. They dove into the.
So I think there was more of that.
To see it
behind the scenes.
Like that speech,
and
that
Giannis,
initial speech after. That's where you want to see it.
Yeah,
but Giannis too.
Giannis
gave it. Giannis gave it to us.
I was just going to attribute that to maybe from an international standpoint, they just don't celebrate
You just wanted
the
to see
same.
some tears? We did not get enough tears last night, guys. They haven't suffered enough for the championship.
Because all the champions that I've seen, but most of them, like I said, are probably a little bit older.
Well,
and
maybe the
they
younger guys are more in touch with their emotions throughout their day, so they don't have to have it all pent up for one interview. I do think also
the Pacers gave us enough tears.
Yeah, I do think also, like the coach said, they behave like champions. They have this very unique makeup of personalities, of fun, of youthfulness. They have this enjoyment of the game that isn't brash. It's a very unique thing to watch. It's a very joyful form of basketball. They're very good.
It almost feels innocent.
It is. Okay, but that's what it is. It is. And they're great. And they finished what is an incredibly impressive season. No, we can't have it every which way. We can't ask for great basketball. We can't ask for consistency.
Let's turn it to ID Network.
Maturity, and then be like, where's the drama? We'll get plenty of that soon enough. We'll get to the big trade in just a minute. But I think they've had a really, really impressive season. And maybe because there wasn't a lot of controversy, maybe it's because they all get along and they all do their interviews together and it's Oklahoma City and they are a little bit unexpected. They haven't been knocking for 2 decades to try and get there, that it doesn't feel that way. But they have had one of the more impressive seasons of all time. I mean, you listed a bunch of different...
look like they celebrating right.
Stats, yeah. I mean, Caruso had to teach them how to...
See, it didn't even look right at first.
Do it.
It's like...
How to open the beers.
Are we old enough to open it?
We've seen them do this on TV. How do they do it exactly?
But it is impressive to have expectations all season long. To come in and Shea be expected to be in the MVP conversation to win it, to then go on and have the scoring title, to then go on and win Western Conference Finals MVP, to win Finals MVP, and to go to a Game 7 with a team that kind of, in a lot of ways, had the hearts of the fans. Like the Pacers, not Knicks fans, obviously, but, the Pacers were this underdog story. We like to root for the underdog. It's not like there was animosity against the Thunder, but it did seem like, everyone was kind of, in a way, rooting for the Pacers.
I think the polls showed that the far greater part of the nation was behind the Pacers than they were behind the Thunder.
Well, we like an underdog story, and that's what the Pacers were. The Thunder were expected to be here. They were expected to have a great regular season. They had the best regular season in the NBA. Shea was in the MVP conversation before the season started. They delivered on everything, but in some ways that really makes it impressive to me. You talk about this all the time, that having expectations is a privilege, but it does also mean that there's a target.
Right.
And that raises the pressure, and especially on a young team that, has Caruso, obviously, but isn't, riddled with veterans who have been there before.
No, their
pressure was a little different than ours, too, because from when I remember, we came in after we did the trades. We had the favorites. I mean, we was on the cover of every magazine. Like, and then people was like, they ain't won nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? They are.
That's why
it's
y'all
like
was
they
crying.
are. That's why they had already pretty much crowned us before the season started. So that make it like a little more pressure.
Yeah.
Like, so when you going into a Game 7 for us in the first round, after all of that, you like, whoa, we can't go. We can't get out the playoffs now.
Where does this put SGA at, Joy, in the hierarchy in the NBA?
I mean, I think right now he's at the top. I mean, he just
of the
finished
new generation of
he
stars?
I'm just
finished
talking
the
about
best
like right
season
now when you just look at
in
it.
the
where's he
NBA by
at?
far.
Yeah.
And he was the league MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, had the scoring title, and won the NBA championship and NBA Finals MVP, and was great throughout all of those series. Reliable, consistent, and gotten better and made his teammates better.
I think because we haven't seen him struggle over the years, he's not getting as much credit for what he has accomplished.
Well, that's why I asked Joy that
it
question.
feels so
Where you
Yeah,
put him?
I don't really think you need to participate in the suffering Olympics in order to be good.
Yeah, but I think we're used to that.
Well, he'll have plenty of time to prove himself against the rest of the league.
But
Do
what
it
do you
again and
mean
again.
by struggle? No, like.
Well, because he's so young and they're so young. Sometimes we feel like, even the Celtics, right? The Celtics breaking through and winning that championship because they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, because they went to the finals. So it was like, okay, they've been so close, and then just not getting there, and then they finally there's always like this finally, and the Thunder don't have that.
Right. They were never in the playoffs.
They were good, and now they're
Got in the
great.
playoffs, and then the next year they win it.
But the thing is, they didn't skip steps though. Like they beat champions on the way there.
Yeah,
Like
people forget they've been in the playoffs for
But they wasn't-
for the last 5 years.
Yeah, but this is the first time. But this is the
no,
first
no.
time they've been in the Western
No.
Conference Finals.
Is this the third year or second year? It's not more than 3 years.
For the
And
last
last year was the
5
first year that they got past the first round.
yeah, they haven't been. It's not like they've been habitually in the finals or
think
Western
they-
Conference Finals.
It's probably four of the last five because
that's what I'm
CP3, they went with
Oh, but
CP3.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
but that
went
was a
with CP3.
different team.
No, that's
not
true, but we just talking about the
That was a
organization.
different team. I'm talking about with Shea there.
Yeah, well, Shea was there.
They've been to the playoffs for the
Yeah,
last
but
5 years.
Shea wasn't this. Chris
but
Paul
he's
was
still-
there.
no, he
Shea was it was being tutored at the time.
Should we, before we move on to Tyrese, should we remind everyone of our picks at the beginning of the season?
Why not? I
I said,
got
okay.
mine
Who are
right.
you picking for your MVP this year?
MVP, since I said, I'm going to go Shea Gilgeous.
Me too. That's also my
Shea
choice.
Gilgeous.
I think it will be a harder road through the playoffs this year than
I
it
do
was
too.
last year. Obviously, health is something that plays a role for everyone. So we're making these predictions based off of if everyone is healthy, which is why I have the Heat over the Thunder in the NBA Finals. Okay, so it's a little wrong about the Heat, but
Okay.
I had the Thunder in the NBA Finals. We both picked Shea to win Finals MVP.
I had OKC and Boston in the final and Boston winning. But just to clarify, they went to the conference semis last year.
Rick, want to get it right?
Yeah, we should get it right.
They've been to the playoffs 2 years in a row. They had not been in the playoffs the previous 3 years.
Yeah, so they have
Really? They've
The
been
previous
absent?
3 years. So quite a stretch since the Chris Paul
So
Paul
3
was
and
Chris
6.
Paul was there.
Chris Paul was
What's
in the-
that?
So
they've been
three in the last
twice
6.
in the last 5 years.
No.
Yes.
No, that's
I'm
not
t-
right. Because Chris Paul was on the team in 2021. He got to get a new computer, man.
Wait, no, you know the funny thing is I'm sitting here.
Get the new update.
No, but I'm sitting here looking. No, man, I'm looking at the computer.
Look.
And I'm looking at some of the faces on these dudes. I'm like, them dudes is old. That's Nate
Shea has been
McMillan,
to
and
the-
That's not.
That's the Sonics.
Shea has been to
That's
the
their-
playoffs
Oh, I'm
4
sitting.
times.
What? I'm looking at these old faces, though.
So, Rick, Shea has been to the playoffs 4 times, right?
Wait, though, he had
Twice
the
with
wrong
the Clippers. It would have been twice with the
The
Clippers.
computer right there. That's the
Team. He had the wrong team.
I'm looking at the Thunder.
No, you had the wrong team.
No, I didn't have the wrong team.
You just had Seattle up there.
That's because that's where the Thunder came from.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I'm
We're
looking.
talking about the Thunder.
But he got Seattle up there looking at them. I'm like, man, them dudes old. Definitely shrimp.
Shea has been.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He needs to update.
Shea has been in the playoffs 4 times. The Thunder
That's
have
what
been
I
in the
was-
playoffs
right.
twice in the last 5 years.
Okay.
So
they're new here.
No. They went to the playoffs with Chris Paul in 2021.
they went
No,
to
they
the playoffs
did
with
not.
CP3. That's what I thought.
They
Chris
didn't
Paul-
make the playoffs?
No, they did not. In 2021, they did not make the playoffs.
I thought they did.
I
thought they
did
was
too. I
an
just
AC.
thought that off the top of my
Arguing about this.
nose.
All right, let's move on to Tyrese
Gotta get a new
Halliburton.
computer. Are you?
He started hot in Game 7, scoring 9 points in 7 minutes before suffering a season-ending Achilles injury. Heartbreaking to watch. Halliburton had a historic playoff run, hitting a record 4 game-tying or winning field goals the last 5 seconds of the fourth quarter in overtime just this postseason. Also, he set the Pacers franchise record for most assists in a single playoffs. Halliburton started games 6 and 7 after straining his calf in game 5. But, Rick, should Halliburton regret playing through the injury after sustaining this Achilles injury?
He should not, because I understand why he would want to play and insist on playing, but the Pacers should regret allowing him to play.
Why?
Because of Kevin Durant, because of Damian Lillard, because we've seen this play out before. Not only did they lose him, look, if it was the kind of injury where, okay, you know what, we lost him in the game and we lost the game, fine. But you're now losing him for the entire following season. And so you're running the jeopardy of not only did you not win this championship, but you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball. In fact, take yourself out of the running of competing for the next championship after going to the finals. They have to re-sign Miles Turner as an unrestricted free agent this summer. Benedict Mathurin and a ton of guys are extension eligible the following year. T.J. McConnell is going to be 35 years old by the time that Tyrese Halliburton is playing again. Pascal Siakam is going to be 2 years old. He's going to be 33, 34. Like, you not only risked it now, but you risked all of next season. And after seeing what happened to Kevin Durant, I just think it's the responsibility of the team to say, we've seen how this plays. Like, this isn't a calf injury. In fact, I don't even know that we should talk about it as being a calf injury at this point, because every calf injury turns into an Achilles problem. And I haven't seen a slight Achilles problem. I've seen Achilles tear that results in a guy missing an entire year. So as hard as it may be, as difficult as convincing him not to play might be, you have an investment in Tyrese Halliburton.
I'm just
as a team.
Rick, I'm going to steal something from our meeting.
Okay.
100 of 100 guys
Yeah.
would play.
100 out of 100 guys would want to play.
No, they would play if they can. If they can get out of...
Okay, if they can.
I'm
not giving him a uniform. I'm not letting him. I'm taking his shoes.
You know this because you know this.
Barefoot.
Yeah.
No, he's just saying he's taking his shoes so he doesn't go back out on the court.
I know. I'm saying he would go out barefoot.
But he shouldn't regret playing, and neither should the organization. This is an opportunity and a chance for them to do something.
If you know what the possible repercussions...
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. A lot of things.
What was the last guy who played with a calf injury and didn't suffer an Achilles?
But that's okay. He was good enough to go out on the floor, though, dog. Think about it. Think about this, though. Ronnie Lott cut his finger off before the Super Bowl just to play in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Think about that.
I know.
You go play if you can, no matter what the consequences are at the end. The organization, the head coach, they need him on the court. They need him on the court. I understand what you're saying
so
about
much for that, because they ain't going to have him on the court.
I understand that. But if they lose this game, which they did, and he didn't play, guess what we would be sitting up here saying? Only if they had Halliburton, if he could have played, man, if he could have just gave him 13, if he could have just gave him 13 points, if he could have just gave him 12, that's what we'd be saying.
He couldn't play.
Listen.
He played 7 minutes.
Rick, Key, Joy, when I left in the wheelchair, I knew there was a possibility I can come back and tear my ACL. That was a possibility because I had a strained MCL.
I thought it was a meniscus.
I had a strained MCL.
But he could have tore it.
I could have further injured it.
Yeah.
But when you have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity,
get him, Paul.
When you know there's a chance you might never have this opportunity again.
Ever again.
And I'm sure they say
Why have we never heard this information? Now you saved this information for this moment?
Well, I'm saving it for my book.
The injury. This injury has taken like 6 different turns.
I gotta say something.
We need to add a producer cam.
But I'm saying,
why?
I'm sure that's.
You all don't be watching Darnell and Mo's reactions.
I see him.
This is going on. Okay, what happened? You risked everything.
I could have ended my career going back out there, but I wrapped my knee up and I took that chance. I'm sure they sat Halliburton down and said, "Listen, this is the risk you're taking." Well, it's 2 games left in the whole season.
It was one game.
Okay, he strained it in game 5.
Yeah.
So you got 6 and 7.
Well, actually, he got hurt in game 3, I think it was, right?
Game 2.
To game 2.
Initially.
But this is the finals.
Yeah.
How many times y'all hear the players say, if it wasn't the finals, then if it was the finals, I would play?
Yeah.
They say that if it wasn't the Super Bowl, if I wouldn't play.
Not every injury risk is equal, though.
Who hasn't played hurt in the finals that got hurt?
I'm looking at Achilles injuries in a different light because you're guaranteed that if it goes,
It's
you're
not a
losing a
guarantee.
whole year.
But that's not a guarantee. He played through it. The way he was moving, the way he went out there. He went out there with 9 points. He got out there, went out there for the 9.7 minutes. Everybody, he good. He good.
There is no other option than playing in Game 7 of the NBA.
No other option.
There is no other option. This is
Zero.
what you play the sport for.
Right.
And looking around the NBA, which we'll get to later in the show, we know, obviously, there's no guarantee that you're going to get another opportunity like this.
Right.
But now, in today's NBA, it is almost guaranteed that you will not get another opportunity like this. And it's Game 7 of the NBA Finals. This is what you dream of your entire life. If you can walk, you're on the court. Obviously, it is a massive risk, and the worst possible scenario happens. But you may never get another opportunity to have that happen. So you have to risk it. It's the pinnacle of the sport. The regret that you would have by not playing in that game would absolutely surmount any kind of pain and suffering from recovering from this injury, which he will recover from. But he will recover from this Achilles injury and play NBA basketball again. That is a guarantee. There is no guarantee that he will ever play in an NBA Finals or a Game 7 of the NBA Finals ever again.
He played in the NBA Finals. And I get from the player's perspective, I would want to play. We would all want to play. Anybody, and the player would want to play.
You would play. It's not.
I am saying from the organization standpoint.
And they wanted him to play. That's why they let him play. Because they have a bet.
Well,
Let me ask you this, though,
You're
Rick.
saying the organization let him
That's a
down?
mistake. I need to
let me ask you this, though, Rick.
protect a player
Protect him
from
for
himself.
what?
As a
From this.
What is this? This is the end. Somebody has to lose.
This is without question. And
they
who's
have
to
a
say we
better
would have
chance?
won even if he did? If it was available.
But we tried, and,
Okay.
and you must try. There is no do. There is only try. Like
tried.
you cannot risk sitting your player.
We tried
forget
for-
the backlash that we would get. That they would be. Everyone would fire everyone.
Yeah,
fire
fire
everyone if you
I'm
don't
not
let
so
him
sure
play.
about that.
So they have.
After looking at what happened to Kevin Durant, what's happened to Klay
I
Thompson,
can't worry
what's
about
happened
that,
to
though. I
Damian
can't worry
Lillard.
about that because I'm trying to get a ring.
Yeah.
I can't look at somebody else's body, somebody else's injury from another organization when I'm trying to get a ring.
But I want a chance to win. I want a chance to go again.
No, you're not.
I want a chance to go again next year.
No, you don't. You want a chance in Game 7? Last night at 5 p.m. when it started, that's the chance.
The only problem you can solve is the one in front of you.
That's it.
You can't predict.
I can't
next
worry
year.
about something 2 years from now.
Right.
I can't. Are they a better team with him on the floor? Were they a better team with him on the floor? Just answer it simple, yes or no.
Yeah, then there's no question.
Okay, so that's why he
we
played.
may not even have a planet next year. Like we're like this, You gotta do what you gotta do
I
right now.
might leave then.
Coming
I don't know where I'm going.
Kevin Durant found out which team he'll be playing for this coming season. We'll tell you what the Rockets' ceiling is with KD. That's next on Speak. And don't forget, you can check us out every day on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. Time to check in on our social life. Kevin Durant found out he was traded to the Rockets while on stage during an interview panel at Fanatics Fest yesterday. KD's first reaction to the news was, quote, "We'll see, we'll see." Paul, are you buying this as the first that KD was hearing about the trade?
Yeah, for sure, because for the most part, athletes, entertainers, A-list don't answer their phone for the most part when his agent was probably trying to get in touch with him. And that's common now. Most players find out via Twitter, X, Instagram, however your social media outlets is. That's common in the last 10, 12 years as far as I'm concerned. So, I found out some stuff. I didn't answer my phone. That's what happens.
you were busy and found out later?
Yeah.
I was actually, I was there yesterday, so I talked to Taylor right afterwards. It was pretty crazy.
He might not have known that it had gone down, but he knew where he was going.
1,000%.
He knew where he was going.
1,000%.
I think he probably had a little bit of a heads up that something was happening.
But there was no, he wanted to go to Houston.
But he didn't know the timing of it.
No. That's the part might have been. But the smile was, okay, finally happened.
Well, yeah,
That's
it's not
what
like
it
he
was.
like
As
didn't
opposed
know.
to,
It's not like
wow.
he didn't know he was going to be traded. Like that would be a little bit more dramatic. Like we had a list of places that he wanted to go.
Yeah,
So
but the
it was like-
reports are making it seem as though like he had no idea that
Right.
it was going down.
It was a shock.
It was a shock.
No way.
You know.
No way he didn't know
You that
what was
Well, it
important.
couldn't be that much of a shock because we know he was going to get traded.
But he had told his people, and he told told Phoenix, Houston's where of all these
he's a
choices, this is where I
free
want to go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, even if he didn't know it was going to happen while he was on stage doing a panel at Fanatics, that would have been the surprise. Like, and it happening while he's doing a panel with
I'm sure
watching his like
that was a shock to
reactionary,
him.
Yeah,
that
as
was
well.
a shock to his system, probably sitting there at the panel, but he certainly knew that it was going down and it could happen at any hour.
Wait, does he have a no trade clause?
He did not that I knew of, no. But player empowerment.
Yeah. But
Paul, would
looking
you-
deeper, go ahead.
I'm just curious, would you have played it off like that? How would you have played it if
How did you
you
do-
found
how
out
did you do that?
while you were doing a public appearance?
I didn't see what happened. I just read like he was just on stage and looked at his phone or something. Or how did it go down?
I think
Like fans were like,
you just got traded
we-
to
Yeah,
you.
Taylor-
we all
I think
got the
Taylor
alert
told him,
on
right?
on our phone, and then yeah.
It sounded like it was planned since it was on stage, but they knew what time
They
it was
did
gonna
not
be.
do it. When
you
he
go
was
from
on
it's a
stage on
complete
purpose.
surprise to now it was.
No,
think about it for a little bit.
You know in the world.
I think he handled it well because if he genuinely didn't know it was going to happen while he was on stage, you don't
Yeah.
want to say something that puts you in a bad spot.
Right.
Like,
That's
it's a-
your
it's a-
reaction,
You're
initial
doing,
reaction.
you're doing a live event with thousands of
No,
people
and,
watching.
and that's legit though. I've been in situations that I know something's going down, I just don't know when. Then all of a sudden somebody says something to me, it's like, oh yeah, they just, and then you go, yeah, and then somebody says something to you, and you kind of play it off.
Right.
But he knew that Houston was his next destination. He just didn't know when.
Right.
That's the only thing.
That's why I don't mind how he handled it.
No, I
'cause,
don't
like,
mind it at all.
Yeah, you can put yourself in a.
It's like when Paul traded the guys from Boston to get his guys. Everybody played dumb, right, Paul?
Everybody played dumb.
Everybody played KG, Ray, all of them just played dumb.
Like, oh, man.
See you later, Twan.
Come on.
Looking deeper at the Rockets with KD.
Oh, God.
Paul, does Durant make Houston a legit title contender?
He absolutely makes them a title contender because the team I saw this year, well coached from Ime, from the young core that they have, when I watched them, they're very disciplined. They play great defense. They needed a star there. Now, I don't know how much KD has left in the tank to carry this young Rockets team, but he's going to certainly have a lot of help. And he can be a guy down the stretch that you can go to. They ended up number 2 in the West. And you add a KD to that while taking away Jalen Green and of course, Dylan Brooks, who was, a heartbeat to their team. I got to believe he does. I think they're still going to maintain their depth. They have Junior over there coming off, Jabari Jr. coming off their bench, or may start. You still have Aquaman. He's still there.
Steven
Adams. You still got him. And a couple other young pieces. So, as far as when I look at the temperature in the West, they're up there they're up in the mix. They're going to be in my top 4, I believe.
Yeah, at first I had to think about it because when we talked about it, I originally went away from it saying, no, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. But then as I started thinking about it over the last hour or so, it feels like he could make him a contender because they swapped out Dylan Brooks and then the young Jalen Green. KD is an upgrade from that, even if you combine them two together. That's a major upgrade. Here's a dude, no matter what age he is, he's still dropping 26 on your head, night in and night out. His consistency is the key point for them. Now, when you start talking about, is he a voice leader guy type? That's not who he is. So they got to try to figure out where do they get that from? Does it come from Ime and the bench? Because that's just not who he is as a player. He just wants to play basketball and help his team try to win. But like Paul said, they got players still. They're young. They got some juice. They ready to go. I just think that in terms of being one of them real strong contenders, I don't know that they're going to be that strong, but I think they could be if he just hits on all cylinders and erase that Brooklyn stuff, erase that Phoenix stuff out of his mind and get with Ime, somebody who coached him at Brooklyn, and he has a relationship with it and understanding, they could wind up shocking all of us and find themselves in a position that many of us probably think they wouldn't be in.
The leadership's going to come from Fred VanVleet, who has the ability to say to KD, I saw you in the finals and took one from you, so I know how to get this done as well as you do. I've got a ring to my name, and that's the role that he served with the Rockets. But no, I don't think that he makes them a title contender. He makes them better for sure. But to say that they were the second best team in the West, they had the second best record. They were 52 wins. They were 16 games behind Oklahoma City, and they were only 4 games ahead of the 8th place Memphis Grizzlies. So it's not like they were a dominant team in the regular season in the way we look at Oklahoma City or even Cleveland over in the Eastern Conference. He's exactly what they need as far as a go-to, and I would say that he makes them a more dangerous playoff team. But regular season, you lose 2 guys like Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks, who were very good regular season players. They just got exposed in the postseason. So does he make them better? Yes. Can he get them further in the postseason? Yes. Are they going to be the second best team in the Western Conference and the biggest threat to Oklahoma City? I would still give that to the Denver Nuggets. And that's actually the team, to me, that was the ideal team for him to go to. If he's dictating where he's going to go, he'd be closer to a ring going to the Nuggets than he would have to Houston.
See, I think he does make them a legit title contender because as much as we think the West is harder than the East, and I do think that the West is deeper than the East,
For sure.
there's been a different champion for 7 straight years in the NBA. So I don't even want to start talking about dynasties or repeats or any of that stuff. It's just, it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened in 7 years. That's a pretty legitimate amount of time. So the
Fair.
Thunder have a lot to prove if we're talking about like what they're going to do next. Not taking they should enjoy every second of this NBA championship. But when we're talking about what the Rockets can do and if they're a contender, I think they're absolutely a contender. I know that they weren't necessarily the second best team in the West, but who's truly scary? Take OKC, the current champions, out of it. Who's truly scary in the West right now? Who makes you nervous? Lakers?
No.
Denver?
Denver,
Yeah.
no. Denver needs some help. They need
a little bit of help.
They need to get their infrastructure together.
All right, but are we comparing them to the Houston Rockets? Like,
I don't
who do you
think-
favor
matchups.
between those two?
I'm looking at the matchups. I'm taking the Rockets over Denver right now. In the matchups, when I look at the matchups, listen, you got an up-and-coming star in Amen Thompson. He could be an all-star as early as next year. Sengun is already an all-star. Durant is still an all-star. That's 3 all-stars right there with Van Vliet, the ultimate role player. And then you got Jabari Jr. To me, he got star potential. He got star potential. And then they got the young backup point guard from Kentucky. I forget his name. What's his name?
Aaron Holiday or
No.
Kentucky, the draft pick. They draft pick.
right there.
I can't even
Reed.
Oh, Shepard.
Shepard. Yeah,
Reed Shepard.
Him.
Yeah.
And then they have
He didn't play it that much.
No,
this
but
year.
he's gonna play
I
next year.
I forgot about him.
yeah, but he's
But
a
they
talent.
have a solid roster
Yeah,
and
they
solid
do.
role
They
players,
do.
and they have a good coach. And not that they ended up being the second best team in the West when we got to the postseason, but they did have a great regular season and added someone who we already know what Kevin Durant is. So I'm more saying if we're talking about who the contenders are in the West, because I think there's just there's a tiny little bit of propaganda being fed out there about the Western Conference. And then when we really look, Minnesota overall was kind of disappointing when we're talking about at least what happened in the Western Conference Finals.
They still could go. They
could.
got to get a couple pieces too.
They could.
I think they
But everything that we're
gotta
talking
get
about
get
here
them
outside of OKC, because OKC just won the championship and had an all-time great season, so let's just take them out of it. Everyone else in the West is a could, maybe, needs a piece, little unsure, maybe needs to adjust here. Are we positive they have the right coach? So if we're talking about whether the KD makes the Rockets a legit title contender, if we're just focusing on what they can do in the Western Conference, I think he absolutely does.
If we're saying there's 6 or 7 title contenders in the Western Conference,
I think there are, because there's
Okay.
not that many that. Are you going to put your mortgage on anybody other than OKC right now in the West?
No, and maybe not OKC. No, I think it's wide open. I think this is my concern: is 52-win team, take out two pieces, and perhaps most important, KD couldn't move the needle with Phoenix. KD couldn't even get them to the playoffs or the play-in.
But maybe that
in Phoenix.
That type of three-headed monster doesn't work for him.
Okay, but still, you're KD. If you're everything we're saying Kevin Durant is, and capable of being, and the numbers that he had just didn't do anything. Like I've seen great players take mid-teams and at least get to the playoffs. Kevin Garnett did it year after year after year.
There's no question that last season was a disappointment. And I think the Suns overall very much learned their lesson that that's not the way that you can build a winning team in this NBA. But what are the spaces that Kevin Durant has thrived in the most?
Teams with good culture, established leadership, good coaching. Yeah. I'm with you.
I think Houston has that.
I can see it. I can see it as the model. I guess when I think of title contender, I think of like 4 or 5 teams in the entire league that I put in that category. It's hard for me at this stage. If we want to look at, there's 5 or 6 potential teams in the Western Conference, then I'm more open to saying
who you think in the Western Conference right now? So OKC, Minnesota,
Denver, OKC, Minnesota.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. Everybody else I've got a bigger question mark with. It's been like, I don't know what the Warriors are going to turn Jonathan Kuminga in, assuming that they're going to move him. Right. If they can get somebody who can contribute, and they've got Jimmy Butler from the beginning of the year, staying healthy.
Clippers, no.
They've got to make some changes. They need a point guard, you know.
Harden is the point guard.
He's up, though, right?
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, I think he's up.
I just think the better way to say it is the West is wide open.
Yeah, the West is wide open.
So if that's the case, then I think the Rockets are in there.
Rockets match their youth and athleticism. Coaching is there.
They will get better.
They're gonna be better. I truly believe they will be better.
So who won the KD trade, the Rockets or Suns, Paul?
I think if you're saying short term, the Rockets definitely won because this puts them in contention for the next couple years, I believe. And sometimes your window of opportunity is only open for 3-4 years. You know, we're not all fortunate to have windows of opportunity last as long as the Golden State Warriors or the San Antonio Spurs. You know, we watched the Miami Heat. Their window was 4 years. I can see that happening with Rockets to where they have a 4-year window. Ours was 4 years. When we got together, we said, guys, our window's 4 years. So whatever we can do in that, and you got to be good and you got to be lucky. You got to stay away from the injury bug. So short term, it's the Rockets, but long term, I feel like Phoenix can build some pieces around Jalen Green, the draft pick. I also would probably trade Booker and go young all the way since he's in his prime and probably not going to win as projected. See if I can get another few pieces for Booker. So long term, it'll be Phoenix.
Yeah, it's Phoenix long term and short, 2-year window in Houston. This is why they did that. They want to win right now. Mm-hmm. They're not thinking 4 years from now. You know, because 4 years from now, KD will be damn near 40 years old. So, or maybe he will. What is he, 37 now?
He'll be 37.
Yeah,
he'll be 37 this season.
So he'll be getting close and into the 40-year. No, not at all. So in all, I think Phoenix wins because they get young. They got a couple picks, in the second-round picks or whatever. They may be able to package them up and find something else. But I kind of agree with Paul. Maybe they look to get even younger if somebody want to grab Booker and bring him along and give him something for him in terms of value. But it's definitely long-term is Phoenix because it's a short-term situation in Houston.
I think it's to be determined. I'd lean Rockets in the immediate because he automatically makes them better.
Yeah, that's why they did it.
Did they have to assure him of an extension, and what's that extension look like?
I need all mine.
That's the price on the back.
Yeah, but I need all mine.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a price. That's a price depending on KD staying healthy that may bite you on the backside. And then the other part is with Phoenix is what are you turning Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks into?
Yeah, exactly. Rick, continue to go.
Seriously?
Continue to go.
Seriously. No, you got to turn. I don't expect that Jalen Brooks and Jalen Green were acquired to be part of the team. I feel like I'm having two conversations here.
Oh my!
I think it's too soon to tell. It'll depend on what I think Jalen Green ends up being. Obviously, KD is going to be 37 this season, so this is a small window for the Rockets to take advantage of, and I think that's good because, as we're saying, there's been a new champion every single year for the last 7 years in the NBA. This idea that you're automatically, just because you won, going to repeat or get back to the finals or build on some sort of dynasty, it's really difficult to do. And because of that, I think there's a lot more parity and it's wide open for everyone. Health obviously plays a huge factor. There's a lot of teams that we expected to be competing at a high level that next year will not be doing that because of major injuries.
Yeah.
And that's across the board. So I think there's a lot that they can do if they do end up staying healthy, but it's too soon in totality. Maybe in 3 years we'll end up knowing who actually won the trade.
Paul, how do you see Alperen Sengun and KD playing together? Because I feel like they play two different rhythms.
Well, I like KD with Sengun in a half-court setting. See, they're going to be a great transition team because they have athletes on the perimeter, and they're going to be a great half-court team. I think they're going to work well together. I mean, they probably won't be putting pick and rolls too much, but playing off on one another, dribble handoffs, things of that nature, getting switches, taking advantage of mismatches, that'll be a great tandem.
Well, coming up, will Caleb Williams regret taking a jab at Packers fans? That is next on Speak. Caleb Williams and the Bears beat the Packers in Green Bay 24-22 in the last game of their regular season. This past weekend, Caleb made sure to mention that he is 1-0 against the Packers at Lambeau. Speak up, Caleb.
After the game, after we won at Lambeau, 1-0 at Lambeau right now. So obviously you try and do the Lambeau leap, and we actually try to jump in the crowd where our fans were. And they start throwing everything at you. They push you off, and the Lambeau leap, it's a real leap. It's not a little baby jump. You actually have to high jump basically. And then they're pushing you, mushing your face.
No, right there.
Key, did you like Caleb taking the Lambeau leap after the win last year? Fight on.
You got to think, Jordan Love only played 35% of the snaps.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they was, at full tilt, so to speak. But if he's going to do that, he's got to win more than one game in Lambeau, right? I mean, like, seriously, though, he's going to have to own them like Aaron Rodgers owned the Bears. But it's fun. He's having fun now, so let's...
Yeah, Aaron definitely can say he owns the Bears, that's for sure.
I'd just say be careful when you go to these events and you start opening your mouth talking and giving them bulletin board material. It can come back and bite you in the behind. You know what I'm saying? Like Rick said. So, especially being a guy who's trying to make a name for himself still in the NFL, come on, you gotta be careful what you say sometimes at these events.
Don't want to get bit in the behind.
No, not at all.
In the behind.
Right. So, that's all I say, because that's one of the most loyal fan bases, one of the best fan bases in football.
I'm surprised they didn't pushing. I wonder if they pushed him, you dive in, they usually...
Yeah, they shove you back if you're not a
Packer.
A Packer.
Yeah, did they do that to him?
Yeah, I think he said that they were...
Aggressive to
They were
him
pushing him, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, let me see. That's not him, though. Who was that?
That's Santa's kicker.
Watch out, get in.
Yeah,
they usually
in.
go...
Okay, lady.
Get out of here.
That's bad
now
tape.
They all want to
That's bad tape to have.
Go, pushing you back.
Get out. They're just like, get out. Look.
She mushed him. Can we run that back from the beginning?
Why they get mad? Y'all the one jumped up to them.
Yeah, they...
Get out. Get out.
But like him saying, it's a big jump. So you better get up there if you're going to get up there.
Don't do
she
that.
said, yeah.
Don't disrespect their fans.
I scored a touchdown one time and tossed the ball in the stand. They threw it back.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's talk talk Shedeur Sanders. He's been pulled over twice in June for speeding, according to body cam footage and court documents. Shedeur was first allegedly going 91 miles per hour in a 65 on June 5th. Then last Tuesday, he was pulled over for going 101 in a 60 mile per hour zone. So, Shedeur's speeding tickets a distraction for the Browns?
You know, it's not yet. It's not yet. But it could be very fast. Now, whatever he's doing, wherever he's coming from or wherever he's going to, maybe he should think about taking one of the Lyfts or the Ubers or something along those lines, or having a driver, because it seems like he likes to put that lead foot down on that pedal. And that's you know, we talked about this before. It's a little dangerous. So whatever he's doing, he's got to slow it down. And I'm not even talking about just from being a distraction standpoint. Anything could happen to him and to somebody else. So, you know how it happens, just like you do it one time, you get a little ticket, you do it again, they like, it's a different officer this time, they get a little ticket. Then the third time, it really becomes like, oh, this young man has a real problem, speed problem. Like, he really likes to go fast. I mean, we all have driven cars fast in our lifetime, I'm sure. But he's been ticketed twice. And it's public.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen,
And it could become a real issue, though, Joy. It really could.
I understand. I cannot set myself up and be a hypocrite and talk about speeding, because I have a fast car and I go fast.
You have a lead foot.
No, I got places. I have places to be. So.
Places to be, people to see and how to get there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not trying to put anybody in danger, and I don't think that I don't think
pull to the side.
Let me go by.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get somewhere. No, in all seriousness, though, like, obviously, I'm not advocating for reckless driving. But the bigger conversation here is not whether or not, he should be speeding or not. We all speed. I speed. We all speed. It's about the fact that everything that he does is going to be put under a super microscope. Like, this is not something that all of us have not participated in. I was speeding today, okay? Don't pull me over. I don't want a ticket. But I was speeding today, coming to work, and I'll be speeding tomorrow, probably, coming to work. Yeah,
exactly. What street were you on? Because I definitely don't want to.
It's fine. I know what I'm doing. The point of the matter is that he has a microscope on him.
Absolutely.
And everything that he does, particularly things that involve the police, even if it is just a speeding ticket, is going to become a headline. Like, that's what it is. So if he doesn't want these things going on, he's just going to have to be extra particular about how he moves around right now. And that's just the exchange of what this is, whether it's silly, whether it's exaggerated, whether it makes any sense, whether we're all hypocrites for even talking about it. That's what's going on right now. And he just has to understand that.
I don't think we are hypocrites for talking about it at all, Joy. I think when you look at the situation.
I can't say I want somebody to stop speeding if I'm speeding.
No, but you said it. We all have speeding in our DNA. We just do. They put speed bumps in my neighborhood when me and Paul used to live by each other because I was a speed demon. So I get it. I understand that. And like you said, it's the microscope that he's under. It's not a distraction today, but it will be tomorrow if it continues. Right now, the coaches and the front office people are sitting there telling him, say, hey, man, you got to slow down. These are the conversations they're having. They say, no, you got to slow down. And if he does it again, now it becomes even bigger news because he's going to be deemed as hard-headed and not listening and not paying attention. And then they take that part of it and turn it into something even more and say, well, if he's not listening to what you're telling him about speeding, and then obviously they'll throw in reckless and all the other stuff because that's what they have to do, then they'll say he's not going to listen to the coaches and he's not picking up the offense, and it'll go from one thing to the next. And that's how they'll get him in a position where we're starting to look at him totally different than we are now.
Yeah, it's not a long-term distraction, but it is for that day. Like any day I got to come to practice and answer questions non-football related, that's a distraction, because as a young player who hasn't stepped out on the field yet, all I want to talk to with the media is how am I doing on the field? How am I making the adjustments? How is this teammate, that teammate? How comfortable are you these are the conversations I want to have. I don't want to be talking about me speeding and in the media for that, because right now you, as a young player, you already creating your rap sheet.
Right.
You know, and you know, the more and more things get on your rap sheet, when things don't go well, it's always gonna keep coming back up. And you don't want that as a young player. You want to have a clean rap sheet. You don't want to, because next thing you know, somebody step on your foot, you arguing, nothing happened, but you just caught arguing. Now that it's just little things become big things. And so for the future, you know, let's just be hopeful that he can just keep it all football. When we talking about Shedeur, we talking about him, what he's doing on the field, and not these little petty things, and that don't end up being a long-term distraction. That's all.
Well, sticking in the AFC North, after Aaron Rodgers went to the Steelers, one former Steeler Super Bowl champ is excited. Joey Porter Sr. said that he was excited about the Rodgers signing and that he believes that Rodgers still has, quote, a lot of juice left in the arm. Do you agree Rodgers has a lot of juice left?
Yeah, I think he has enough for this season. Can they coach him up? Can they get the best of what's left out of Aaron Rodgers this season for these next 17 games, 18 weeks? Can they get that out of him? And I think they could. I mean, I'm not there watching him throw the ball around like Joey Porter may have, and I don't have the inside intel like Joey Porter. So I'm sure he's heard from his son and other people, because he was once upon a time on the staff, that Aaron Rodgers could still push the ball down the field. And this is why he feels that way, having played against him and watching him and understanding who he is. He sees it probably in him that just for this year, he can do it.
Usually, and I talk to you about this key almost every other week, when you start moving around to different teams those last 3-4 years, you know what that means? The gas is running out. The gas is running out of the tank. Rodgers been on, what, 3 teams in 4 years? When you start seeing that fuel getting low. And not to say that he can get, not to say he can't get through this season, but usually when you got a lot of juice left in the tank,
you still with the same team?
You're going to be with the same team. You know what I'm saying? You ain't going to be bumping around being a Band-Aid for a team. So I truly believe that this is, I truly believe that this is going to be his last year in the NFL. Whether he's able to push Pittsburgh to heights they haven't seen in quite some time, we have yet to see, but I'm not sure that's there, or he would have been with Green Bay probably still at this point, or even with the Jets. Right now, he's turning into like a one-year rental. And you know, one-year rentals are like lemons. And I'm not saying he's a lemon, but there's not much left in that tank. I know that.
Yeah, he's got enough for one, like, crisp glass of OJ. Might start a little hot, and then over the course of the season, I think it could kind of tail off. I mean, as a Steelers fan, I'm hopeful that it's not a complete disaster, and I don't think that it will be, but I'm not confident that they're going to be better than they were last year. I think their ceiling is the same as it was last year. Yeah, I don't think he has a lot of juice left. I think it's one of those, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. And I don't know if that's enough in the AFC to take the Steelers through all of these young up-and-coming teams going up against Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and C.J. Stroud and Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert.
It's called getting into the tournament, though, Joy.
I hear you. I don't know that they're going to be in the tournament.
If he can get them into the tournament, then all bets are off for anything else. Anything can happen once you're in the tournament. You know, we can talk about young quarterbacks all we want, but when you got to go out a certain way, and I think he has to go out a certain way, he can't go out as a dud. He just can't. Yes, he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. He's going to do all of those great things. And he'll probably be working in TV when he retires, all of that. But he cannot go out as a dud. Can't do it. That will, people, you know, would look at.
I don't think we'll remember
a long time ago.
I think the only way that we will remember this season or ever talk about this season is if it goes extremely well beyond what most of people are expecting. Or extremely bad.
And that extremely bad is a dud.
Even missing, but a dud to me is like What happened with the Jets last year?
Think about it. They were going to the playoffs without you. And you come, and now they don't go to the... That's a dud.
But they've also just had winning seasons and not gone to the playoffs. So, like, as long as you don't have a losing season, I don't, like, there's just a lot of competition. You're going to have that high level of competition within your own division. I don't know if I see it
might be
this
different
year.
for him now anyway, because he's married, newly married and everything, so things might calm down for him. You know?
We will see. Coming up, we're heading to the Truth Lounge to wrap up the NBA season and celebrate the Thunder's title. Dino, where's your hoodie? What's going on here? That's next on Speak. Welcome to the Truth Lounge. Thank you, Dino. The Thunder wrapped up the NBA season last night by winning the finals. So, Paul, how's the VIP room looking right now?
The VIP room is still have one team left. They're still in the VIP.
They're gonna leave when the lights come on.
Yeah, the VIP lounge, Indiana Pacers. Hats off to a great season, overachieving, getting to Game 7 of the finals. They're still in the VIP, but we're gonna have to move the OKC Thunder out of the VIP into the respect room now.
Oh, we're adding a room. Okay.
Oh, yeah. We remember the respect room with all the former champions. Remember earlier in the year, we in the playoffs, we put the
renovation
Lakers.
going on. Okay.
We put Denver and all of them in there because they are former champions. We're putting the OKC Thunder in the respect room. Hats off to them. We're going wire to wire. Shea MVP of this, MVP of that, MVP of everything.
You got all the
It was so crazy, though, when you were saying that earlier. You know, we were talking earlier, and you was running off everything that he did.
Man.
And he was like, and I'm saying, Michael Jordan ain't never done that.
Jordan did that. Jordan did it. Kareem did it. Shaq did it.
Okay, because I was sitting there, I was like, damn, like,
He won a scoring title, MVP of the league, Finals MVP, champion. Yes.
yeah, but he didn't win Eastern Conference.
Yeah, that
or
wasn't
Western
out there.
Conference.
Right,
I know.
right.
So he got one up on
He got one up on everybody because that's a new award. But what a year by him, man. Hats off to whatever they was able to do.
Are you totally out of champagne in the
Yeah,
respect room?
they got that special champagne. You know, back in the day when we went to the Club Key, they had the Moet, but then you had the Rose Moet.
I don't know
that
what
was
you're talking about, but I understand.
the Rose Moet. That was the Rose.
The Rose, yeah.
The Rose.
Rose
You
Moet.
thought you was doing extras when you got the Rose. It was
You know what's so crazy, though? People won't even buy Moet, right? They look at you like you're crazy.
Right.
Look at your Moet. I don't want that.
right. That's our. You get the Rose Moet. You like ooh okay.
They got some
yeah.
bread.
Oh yeah. They're in the respect room with the Mose Moet. So hats off to them once again. Youngest team in the league right now. They doing their thing, man. I don't know. It's gonna be tough to beat them. It's gonna be tough to beat them moving forward.
Who has a brighter future, the Thunder or the Pacers?
You got to say the Thunder because they the champs. They the youngest team. I don't know the extent of Halliburton's
That's
injury.
the problem right there.
You know, everybody's
What's Achilles?
assuming.
He's expected to be out for the rest of the
and so
reportedly Achilles, so he will be expected to be out for the rest
yeah,
of
it's just so many question marks with Indiana. You know, you got him out. You got to re-sign Miles Turner. You know, and then they don't have the same type of stars in Indiana. You know, like you understand what Halliburton was. He was like the conductor for them. You know, he orchestrated because you know it looked different when he's not out there doing his this and you know when the conductor's not there, they just playing notes. They don't know which direction they're going in, and so it'll be interesting to see, you know, who's going to be running the show for them next year. Whether it be T.J. McConnell, the starting point guard, or they bring in another point guard. But right now, it has to be the OKC Thunder who has the brighter future.
It's definitely OKC. Mentioned Halliburton's injury. Siakam's gonna get a little bit older. They got a solid Miles Turner, and people gonna try to figure out, you know, how to pull him from them. So you just don't know what they'll be beyond 2026. We're talking about 2027 before you even get Halliburton back at full strength.
Yeah, it's not looking good. The
And
question
OKC
is,
ain't really got no issues, to be honest with you.
no issues.
None at all.
I don't see no weaknesses on this team. You got MVP, you got good role players, your second best player. Like, it's an argument on who their second best player is. Because, like, is it J-Dub or is it Chet?
It's J-Dub.
It's J-Dub, though, but you see how Chet affects the game. With his rebounding, block
9 feet
shots.
tall. That's what he's supposed to do.
That's what I'm saying. But, like, if J-Dub, his shot is off, If his shot is off, how does he affect the game? Like Chet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what makes him a great third option, or even on some nights, second option. They're going to be tough for a long time.
I mean, I think the Halliburton injury makes it by default the Thunder, because everything that we're talking about with the Pacers has to be after Halliburton gets back. Unfortunately, getting hurt in Game 7 of the NBA Finals pretty much assures you that you're going to be out for the entirety of the next season. So everything that they're doing now is for 2 seasons from now, not next season, which just puts them in a completely different space. Players get older. It's time for different players to get paid. You have to figure out who is going to maintain the organization until then. So it's really, obviously, a devastating injury to have, and then the time that it happened. But the Thunder are just in a better position right now. So who should be the favorites in the East, considering everything that's going on with the Pacers?
That's a good one. With all these Achilles injuries to the Celtics, to Indiana, to Milwaukee, I have to say the favorites would be Cleveland Cavaliers. They won the most games this year, 64 games. New York was right behind them. So it's got to be those 2 teams. So it's looking like the East is thinning out, but don't watch out for 2 teams that I'm going to see that's going to be really good. Orlando Magic and the Detroit Pistons. Detroit, in a lot of ways, are built like the OKC Thunder. They got a lot of young pieces that are really good. They just need to grow together with a few other veterans over there, and they could be really good next year.
No, it's Cleveland, and depending on who the Knicks hire as a coach, you got to put them in there. And I don't know what Boston, I know Tatum isn't there.
I think they'll be in the top 4 or 5 still, though.
But they still gonna be right at the top somewhere.
But we're talking about the favorites.
It's gonna be Cleveland.
I think it has to be Cleveland.
Yeah, it's gonna be Cleveland.
Has to be Cleveland.
I would like to say the Knicks, but until we see who they hire,
coach,
I have to give it to.
Yeah, they got to make some moves, too.
Well, does Kevin Durant get the Rockets into the 2026 Truth Lounge? Start of the season, it's going to be a very busy Truth Lounge.
Man, when we reopen, we're going through a remodel this summer. When we reopen the Truth Lounge, we got to get Houston in there. Okay. Oh, yeah, KD and the Rockets.
Houston has a section, or they're at the bar?
Man, they got to start off at the bar, Paul.
Yeah, they're at the bar. They're at the bar.
They got in, though.
They got in, though. They in the lounge. It's going to be some people standing out in the line. Teams like Charlotte, teams like Sac. Man, y'all might as well don't even show up to the Truth Lounge, player.
You can't get in?
Man, I think they can get in. I think we're gonna start having Monday nights going. So we'll get them.
They gotta pay a cover and go by the bar.
Yeah, they gotta get Monday nights. Monday lights is light.
Do you think it was smart for the Heat to pass on KD?
Man, this is the window opportunity. This was the window right here. When you look at the East broken down with the injuries, the Heat, if they had got KD and teamed him up with Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, they would have been in the mix. I'm shocked that they didn't make a better offer to get KD with the window opportunity open like this. I think moving forward, that's going to be a move they regret, because I don't see no other moves out there that can put them in contention, with the Knicks, with Cleveland, Orlando. I think they're a tier below that.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where they should have figured out how to get it done early and not play around with it. And I think Pat, from what I'm hearing, Pat and company played around with it. So at the 11th hour, they said, you know what, ain't no coming back. We don't, going once, going twice, already going to Houston. Because they had an opportunity.
Yeah.
And they just played, they just messing with it.
Well, I think there was like a...
Don't.
The price was too steep for the Heat. They didn't want to part with that many young players in their core. But I would have loved to see KD there, and I think it would have been good. Well, it is
the Truth Lounge.
It's the Truth Lounge.
A great NBA season at the Truth Lounge. Pacers still in the VIP room, but the Thunder moved up to the Respect Room. Coming up.
Cheers to the champs.
Cheers to the champs. What grades do the Pacers deserve after this season? We'll go through Indiana's exit interviews next on Speak. Thank you, Dino. I keep everybody out. I am also taking OKC. I'm taking OKC in 7.
The NBA Finals are tied at 1 game apiece.
By the way, I haven't switched my pick yet. I think that the Pacers are going to push it to a Game 7. At home, Game 7.
They'll play for an NBA title on Sunday night. in Game 7.
Am I the only person who has kept their prediction in place? I had OKC in 7. So I thought it was going to be a long series. That's why I predicted that.
It's over at Paycom Center. Final in Game 7, the Thunder 103, the Pacers 91. The final chapter reads, the Oklahoma City Thunder are the 2025 NBA champions.
Well, well, well. Not only did I correctly predict the series, but I also never changed my pick. You guys can tell me how great I am if you want to, or we can just get to the...
won the NFL last season with the best record. Then
I
she
finished
called
number
out
2.
the champ.
You finished number 2.
And then she called out the champs in 7. Hey, you might need the crystal ball. Take me off the crystal ball.
Get the predictions right.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to look at the losing side of the finals. Let's do our exit interviews for the Pacers. We'll start with their leader. Paul, what grade would you give Tyrese Halliburton?
My class is the class you want to be in, Joy,
Yes,
especially if you're trying to get to college. Tyrese Halliburton, A+, without a doubt, for the simple fact you helped carry a Pacers team that had no business in the finals. You got them out. You beat Milwaukee. You beat the Knicks. You beat, who else they beat? Cleveland, the number 1 seed. Come on now, a lot of that. Listen, this is going to be a run. Even though they win a championship, we're going to remember some of the big moments he had throughout this playoff run. A+ for Halliburton. Don't frown up over there, Rick.
What are you looking for?
First of all,
A++.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
A perfect season.
that's for Joy.
Oh, what?
For your, for your
Thank you.
pick. You wanted
Right.
your flowers.
Oh, that wasn't for Halliburton?
Yes.
Oh, that was for Joy.
Oh, come on. Thank you. Now, here
thank you,
come the
Rick.
real grade.
I'm going to be
Here come the
generous.
F.
I'm going to be generous.
Generous.
I'm going to be
Not wanna
generous.
be in his
Mr.
class.
Rick's class is tough.
He looks
I'm
like
gonna
one
give
of them
him-
dudes, I'm telling you.
I'm going to give him a B. If it wasn't for his performance in the pop quizzes, he would be getting a C or worse because there were just too many days where he didn't show up.
Yeah.
You got
Okay.
too many absences, right? So, look, turned in some assignments that had some missing work, but he killed those pop quizzes. He showed up in a couple of moments. But in my class, it's a matter of, are you doing the work on a full-time basis?
Oh, so you one of those teachers that you got to show your work.
Well,
you
I'm
can't
telling
just put
you,
the
I
right.
Got to
answer.
show your work. You can't cliff notes.
All right, what you got, Key?
I'm giving him an A- for some of the same reasons that Rick is talking about. It was some games that we even had this on the conversation on the show. Only shooting the ball, 6 times in one game, or maybe it was 8 in one game. He didn't contribute much on the defensive end. Okay, yeah, he hit some big shots at the end of some games. You know, in particular, you think about the Knicks game. In, boom, back down through the basket. It turned into something. You know, he gave the choke sign a little too early, but yet and still, he winds up in the finals in the Game 7. And they fall back hard, but it was too many missed assignments that he didn't turn in at the right time.
A-?
Yeah. Man. I'm gonna give him an A-. Yeah, he's A-. He's A- because, like Paul said, they went through a little bit of a gauntlet. Although Cleveland had some players missing, for the team. That's why I can't take his class though.
Yeah,
no,
his class is hard.
No, we ain't doing it.
I'm going with an A. I will say I'm struggling as I'm looking through the extra interview grades where I'm going to put blame for all of the turnovers in the finals because I do think that was a major issue. So I might have given him an A- being the leader and the face of the team as being the one responsible for that, but I can't do that. We did not expect the Pacers to be here. They went to a Game 7 with the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that we have just spent most of the show talking about how incredible their run is, how remarkable Shea's season was, how definitively better they were than everyone, at least in their conference. For them to take this team with Siakam as the All-Star, not even Halliburton as the All-Star this year, to a Game 7 with them. And look, you know, things got away from them in the second half, but overall, a very entertaining Game 7 while losing your leader in very early in the game. So I'm very impressed with the Pacers overall, but I have to give him an A because he's, you know, the season ending the way that it did for him with this injury is obviously devastating, but I don't think that we'll ever talk about him the same way because of the way that this finals run went. Like his life has forever changed. How we think of him as a player has changed because of how he's played in this in this finals run. So I have to give him an A. All right, Pascal Siakam, what grade are you giving him, Paul?
Like I said, you love going to Mr. Pierce's class. Pascal Siakam did everything he could for this team, and he's probably one of the more underrated players in the NBA, making an all-star team, helping carry this team throughout the playoffs, getting them to the finals along with Halliburton. Siakam, I feel like with his versatility and the way he left everything out on the floor, my hat's off to you, man. A for the season.
All right, let's see. Oh my gosh.
One line when I see the line.
Yeah, you saw right here.
You already know. You already know what's happening. Oh, okay. All right. What's Mr. Rick?
He did. I'm giving him a B+. He did not raise his hand enough times when there was a question posed to the entire class.
Okay.
All right. He did have his best postseason ever. Efficiency-wise, he was better even than in the championship year with the Toronto Raptors. And the class projects were infinitely better when he participated. There were times, again, just like Tyrese, where I'm taking attendance in my class and where's Mr. Siakam? Where's Mr. Halliburton? B+.
Okay.
I think that's generous.
No, I'm giving him an A.
Everything.
I'm giving him an A because I think he did participate at times, especially when Halliburton
Did they
wasn't
sweep the
participating.
finals or something and I missed it? What are we doing here?
I mean, they did.
We were throwing
A's
A's around like they're freaking gummy bears.
When Halliburton was struggling, Siakam came and pulled the chain to help. He didn't sit back
that wasn't
and just
TJ.
chill.
You're not confusing him with TJ McConnell?
McConnell had one or two good minutes.
Or Benedict,
Let's not go there.
Benedict Mathurin?
Mathurin.
But I think when you look at it, they didn't lose Game 7 because of him. They didn't lose Game 2 because of him. They didn't lose the championship because of him. Okay? He participated in it.
Did they win?
He participated in it, but you just a tough grader, though.
Because if they had won.
And he wasn't, and he didn't get dominated. He didn't get dominated. Had he gotten dominated in the playoffs, then I would be sitting there saying, well, he should get a B-, B+. But he never got dominated.
I'm going to also give him an A. I think that, A's, there we go, A in Miss Joy's class. I think he did a nice job. I'm not going to give him an A+, so we've got an A+ if he would have, taken them over the edge, say, last night and won the championship. But
It would have been nice.
It's really hard for me to give anybody on the Pacers a low grade for this season. It was an excellent season in which they absolutely overachieved.
They did overachieve.
And when you think about it, at once upon a time, we were having a conversation, if they won, who would get the MVP between him and Halliburton? Were we not, Joy?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
What grade would you give the role players, Paul?
The role players were outstanding. This team was compiled full of role players, more than usual. I give them a B+, because on any given night, we had different role players show up from Mathurin, T.J. McConnell, Obi Toppin, and that's just off the bench. When you talk about Neesmith and Nembhard, those guys are role players. They did all they can. Listen, I've never seen this amount of role players without any superstars carry a team to the finals. I've never seen it. And then if you want to talk about that Detroit team, like they were similar to that, well, listen, I will tell you, Chauncey Billups was a superstar. Ben Wallace was a superstar on defense. That was an elite team. Rasheed Wallace
might have been the most talented player on that team.
And so when you look at this team, this is probably the most overachieving team to make a finals. When you talk about 1990, I believe 94, 95 Rockets, they were like a 5th seed that went and won a championship. Well,
95.
Yeah, 95, they were 5th seed. Well, they had a guy named Hakeem Olajuwon who many place him in the top 10 all time. I don't really see that with this Pacer team. So for what they were able to do for the season, you get a B+.
Mr. Rick?
Straight line. Oh, angle.
Oh. Wow.
Whoa.
For all of the reasons that Paul just gave, because in the games that they won, and in the fourth quarters in particular, those seem to be group projects. Those seem to be efforts where you got something from everyone. Benedict Mathurin gives you a 27-point game. T.J. McConnell does, he's carrying the team for an entire quarter. That's a guy off of the bench. Aaron Neesmith and Andrew Nembhard, the defense that they played on Jalen Williams and SGA. To me, the secret sauce to this Indiana Pacers team was that they had good stars in Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam, But the real strength of this team was its depth and its versatility and getting contributions for so many different places. And if you told me that Andrew Nembhard was going to be able to do that kind of job on the league MVP, because I think he did an admirable job, just across the board, everything that they got. T.J. McConnell in his first finals, being the kind of lift that he was off the bench. Benedict Mathurin giving you a big game. The secret sauce for me was the Indiana Pacers, and they deserve the highest grade.
Well, the role players get a B from me. And the reason they get a B from me is because there were times, especially on the role players wouldn't show up. They just, for whatever reason, they didn't show up on the road at times for Indy. But a B still a nice grade. And I understand what TJ did, and I understand Benedict played the way that he did. But at the same time, it wasn't enough at the times on the road. Had they won those road games and they had played better on the road, then we might be having a different conversation.
I got to go I can't put any of this on role players. Role players are role players for a reason. It's supposed to be on the stars, and I thought they were excellent and also went well beyond what could have been expected from them on any other team. So I agree with you. A team that this many role players expected to perform every single night on the road or at home, I think they showed up in a big way and were a massive part of the reason why they were in a Game 7 in the NBA Finals to begin with. Coming up, Matthew Stafford is getting ready to enter a very exclusive club this season. Not the Truth Lounge, but we'll tell you what it is and what record he is about to set. That's next on Speak. After an offseason of questions, Matthew Stafford enters year 17 in the NFL with a new extension here in LA. Stafford won a Super Bowl with the Rams, but many NFL players have done that. But by the end of this season, Stafford will have done something that no other NFL players have, earn $400 million playing football. Aaron Rodgers can do this as well, but it would have to be him making the Super Bowl to hit the incentives necessary to do that. $400 million.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Key, does Stafford deserve to be the first player in the $400 million club?
Man, every penny. Every dime that they gave him, every dime they're going to give him, he can just go put in his bank account. He deserves every single penny. I don't care how many championships he's won, played in, how many playoff games, he deserves every single penny. And if they're willing to give it to you, he certainly ain't gonna say, oh, you know what, I don't want to give it back. Like, what? No, that's good for him. It's good for him and his family.
If Stafford had never won a Super Bowl, if Stafford didn't throw for the amount of yards he threw for, and he still was the first one to go over $400 million, I always say this: any money they willing to pay you is the money you deserve.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? If you got a slick agent or you just something, whatever it is, whatever they willing to pay you is what you deserve. So shout out to him being that guy, even though he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, Super Bowl champ. We love him down here in LA for the Rams. I can't wait to this season.
I deserve is a weird word. Yeah, it's like, you know, that word kind of throws everybody. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl. He's been a premier player in the league for his entire career. Like, obviously, the time in Detroit didn't have the success that they wanted it to, and now Detroit's in a different space. But that's not his problem. Yeah, I mean, you get what they pay you, and that's right. Like, you know, outside of, you know, the deserve part of it, and, you know, making it to this club, which will have many other members very soon as the you know, CBA changes and the amount of money the salary cap continues to go up. So he certainly won't be alone. But what these guys do to be able to play football every single week, like, you're not gonna get me caught up in the what's your deserve or you're not. You deserve what they pay you, and that's every single penny, and you should get all of it.
When he retires, whenever that is, and after a couple years of retirement, he's gonna meet a doctor a lot. He's gonna see the doctor a lot because his body, every year they
17 years in the NFL.
But his body alone, they done had to put his body back together every single year to get him ready to play a full season.
Yep, get your money.
So, no, we won't be giving any of it back, Mr. Stafford. Keep it all.
Coming up, Alex Caruso said that his championship with the Thunder was, quote, a real one.
Shots fired.
So is that shot shot fired at LA?
He said it, Keith. Not me. He said it.
He didn't mean it that way.
Yeah, he did.
The Thunder won the NBA Finals, and Alex Caruso is now a two-time champion. But after the game, Caruso seemed to be throwing a little shade at his first ring he won with the Lakers. Speak up, Alex.
Yeah, now I got a real one. Now nobody can say anything. Yeah, I think just because of the way the team is constructed now versus the team I had in 2020, like it was much harder with this team just because of the experience.
See, this is what I've been trying to tell everybody about. You have to go to our how they talk about the
I think he had a little immediate regret after saying that.
No, he didn't. It felt real.
What do you make of him knocking the
he just. I think he's still kind of a little mad because we didn't re-sign him, and he had to go to Chicago. Now he's in OKC, and you know what I'm saying. I think he's a little mad, but it's cool. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying. So he should just give it back though. Mail the ring back to Jeannie Bussing Company and just keep it pushing.
He said he got a real one finally. Like I've been saying, he didn't have to go. He went on the road to Denver.
How many teams in the NBA?
Like 30.
So it's 30 teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
And they all was in the bubble to have a chance to win, correct?
Yeah, but you don't have to go on the road. You don't have to go fly 3 hours, different time zone.
But you'd
have to crowd and all of that.
So you stuck playing pickup basketball for however many months they was there.
I'm telling you, it's tough to go on that road to go in there.
You couldn't see your family. You eat whatever you eat.
There was good meal. Chefs was in there.
Yeah,
good meal.
But for the most part, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't right. There was a whole lot of other stuff. Lou Williams had to leave to go get what he...
Disneyland was there. Mickey Mouse was there.
Lou left to get what he
I think he's just saying that he is relieved to have won this one out of the bubble as well, because now people won't talk trash about
maybe that is what he said, but he should have said it that way,
being a real champion. Yes, I don't think he should have said it at all.
It's the truth.
Because then you can't call yourself a two-time champion then.
Yeah, that's what I said. He should just mail it back.
You can only say you have one if that's what you believe.
They got UPS, FedEx, what's the other little HL, DHL. They got all them. They got all that.
Other little one.
What's the small? I guess I don't ever use them.
What is the biggest threat to a Thunder repeat, Paul?
The biggest threat to the Thunder repeat is going to come out west, I believe, next year. Is going to be the Denver Nuggets, because they still feature, in a lot of people's eyes and even mine, the best player in the NBA in Jokic. And when you have the best player, you always have a chance.
Yeah, it could be Denver, but Minnesota would be there. They just need a piece at the point guard, maybe get a little younger there in terms of kindly move that out the way. And then if some reason the Mavs could get healthy, they might be a tough out.
I think everyone is. There's more competition than ever. Both sides, both conferences are wide open, and we've had a different champion 7 years straight in the NBA. So every time we have one, we think the Nuggets are about to be the new dynasty, and the Celtics, and now we're talking about the Thunder. It's a lot of parity, and I'm really interested to see what happens next year, because they do look like, just like the Nuggets did, just like the Celtics did, just like the Bucks did, a team that was poised to go on run after run, and it hasn't been that way for some time. So I think it's wide open. Coming up, Shohei Ohtani was back on the mound Sunday, but he did more than just pitch. We'll check in on Key's Dodgers next on Speak. Speaking of Shohei Ohtani, yesterday he pitched one scoreless inning, striking out 2 batters. He also hit a home run and had 5 RBIs. So, Key, how excited are you about how Shohei has been looking?
Cool. So far, 2 games, 1 inning apiece. Mm-hmm. Let's extend him over time. So just give him a little bit more from a mound standpoint. His bat, I'm not worried about. I was worried about it at first because I wasn't sure the endurance standpoint, pitching and then going to hit. But it hasn't affected him so far,
We talked earlier in the show about the Lambeau Leap, and we have tracked down some footage of Key.
I couldn't get up there. Key, what you doing?
Man, I stepped on a bag.
No,
that's not Lambeau.
Oh,
Look at me, I tried again. Look, that's the Jets. That's at the Jets. That's a high wall, though, doggy.
Look. God.
No, I stepped on a bag, though, Paul. I thought the bag was a water cooler and I was going to be able to use it.
How you going to explain this?
It's high. No, that thing is high, though. It's like,
what were you thinking?
Man, I was hyped. I had just scored a touchdown. I don't know.
He couldn't get it.
It was a cameraman's bag.
What?
I thought, but I looked at it, I thought it was a water cooler.
Oh my God, that's it for us.